A big debut for a tiny car. The world premiere of the new Smart at Berlin's Tempodrome Event Center drew over 700 journalists from around the world. And once the nifty coupe drove onto the stage, there was no holding back. Everyone wanted a piece of the action. The new Smart is being rolled out in two chassis versions, the two-seater for 2 and the 4-seat for 4. The 4 once bore little resemblance to its two-seat cousin, but that has now changed. Smart chief designer Kai Sieber says most people would have trouble differentiating between the two cars from the front and back. It's only from the side it's obvious it's an extended for 2. But Sieber says it was important to hold on to iconic features so that people recognize it as a real Smart right away, even though the proportions might vary. The new generation Smart for 2, part of Germany's Daimler, has an all-new design, most notable in the front. The engineers managed to retain the overall length of its predecessor at 2.69 meters, but the new version is 10 centimeters wider. That means a roomier interior and more leg space. And its tight turning circle, under 7 meters, is hard to beat. For those wanting to take more passengers, the Smart for 4 is the better option. With a length of 3.49 meters, there's room for 4 people. And once the seats are folded up, total luggage capacity is 975 liters. And in contrast to its predecessor, the engine is located beneath the rear trunk. For Daimler, it was high time to bring a larger Smart model to market. Smart CEO Annette Winkler says the brand has lots of fans, but many people say they can't buy a Smart because they have children or want to take luggage. So now the company can offer a bigger car. Both models have new features. The Smart comes with a 5-speed manual or dual-clutch automatic transmission, and the new version has a 3-cylinder engine that puts out 52 kilowatts. Average consumption is 4.1 liters for 100 kilometers. The new Smart, developed together with Daimler partner Renault's Twingo, has struck a chord with car experts.
I think it's more comfortable. I like also the situation about the manual. For the manual, no more automatic.
German car blogger Björn Habegger is impressed too. He says the new models have cleverly retained their Smart DNA, but from the rear the car has a powerful look with a wide stance. French journalist Antoine de la Chapelle is also taken by the new Smart. He says for driving in and around big cities, it's a great compact car.
Yeah, no, I think it's a bit more grown up than the last one. It's got a bit more character in the face of it, and it's got bigger wheels at the front, so it could be a little bit more sporty, and that's quite interesting.
In my country, China, Shanghai, people, the married people, mom just love Smart for them to pick up the kids from school or to go to the market, but sometimes they do have one more person. So in that case, there was some awkward. But now the problem just got resolved. It's perfect, and I'm expecting that they come to China as early as possible.
Lots of praise at the debut. Expectations are running high for the latest Smart cars. What should a top-of-the-line sedan sound like? Like this, maybe? Car tester Mattis Korat explains that the 2 rows of traffic cones are exactly 4 meters 97 centimeters apart, and hardly any of the top-of-the-range models would fit between them. A 7 Series BMW is 5 meters 7, an Audi A8 is over 5 meters 13, and an S-Class Mercedes-Benz is about the same, 5'11". The only car that fits in this space is the Porsche Panamera, here in the turbocharged version. This luxury Porsche sedan comes with a turbocharged V8 that emits a brazenly powerful roar, and it's not just noise. Its forward thrust is enough to give the nearly 2-ton car a sports car's get up and go. When Matis Kurat takes the Panamera around a curve, he experiences the agility he's used to from smaller and supposedly much more nimble cars, the Porsche 911s for instance. What happens when Porsche's signature design is applied to a top-line sedan may not be everyone's groove, but it's a welcome break from the competition's routine notchbacks. And if the Panamera is too short for some car buyers, they can opt for the executive version with 15 extra centimeters. The Panamera offers various sports car details and a surprisingly practical trunk. Matis Kurat points out that the body's shape makes for a trunk that's quite different from what we'd find in other top-line sedans. For one, the rear windshield reaches down over it, so people can see all the valuables inside. A thief intent on breaking in, for example. Another point is that the lid is hinged at the roof, so if you open it in a low garage, it might scrape against the ceiling and get the paint scratched. But it has its advantages as well. If room is needed for a bit more baggage, this roll-up sun blind can be put up to make way for the bulkier items. A normal trunk wouldn't allow that. Also, the big lid makes the trunk easier to load.
Und außerdem kann man durch eine große Klappe viel leichter einladen als durch eine kleine.
The Panamera turbocharged version comes with PDK dual-clutch transmission and all-wheel drive, at a price tag pushing 146,000 euros in Germany, plus a fuel consumption rate of at least 10.2 liters of premium per 100 kilometers. But the turbo easily leaves the factory specs in the dust. Launch control takes it to 100 kilometers per hour in less than 4 seconds, automatically extending the rear spoiler when it does. The 382 kilowatts of power and 700 newton meters of torque can make some demands on the driver. It's not just the figures for power and torque, but the feeling that impresses Matis Kurat. It's comfortable, but muscular, with the car starting out slow and then taking off with a burst of speed. Switching to Sport or Sport Plus mode makes him feel like he's driving a true race car. Porsche's engineers outdid themselves with the V8's repertoire of sounds. Matis Kurat says unlike every other top-range sedan, the Panamera has buttons on the dashboard that can change the sound, and of course the volume coming from the exhaust. This is how it sounds when the driver accelerates normally. It starts getting warm and his sound level meter shows 94 decibels. Now he presses this button and steps on the gas again. It doesn't seem to get any warmer, but the meter goes up to 108 decibels. That's close to the maximum allowable for a car. That's the sound outside. What about inside? Matis Kurat tries it out first without pushing the button. It's only 74 decibels. Now he pushes the button. And it edges up to 84, just slightly louder, but more noticeable is the change in the sound's quality. The interior is easy on both the ears and the eyes. The familiar Porsche design gives form to the steering wheel, instruments, and ascending full-length center console, which has just a hint of an airliner cockpit. In contrast to its competitors, the Panamera has split folding rear seats. That leaves room for more luxury features on the console.
Zusammenfassend kann ich sagen, der Panamera
Matis Korat sums up by pointing out that the Panamera has a few things other cars don't. And it offers lots of driving fun and good workmanship. If there's anything he'd criticize, then at most the trim on the B-pillar. It could have been more solid. He personally would not need a turbocharged engine given the extra price and higher fuel consumption. He noted an average rate of 15 to 16 liters per 100 kilometers on his test drive, but that's a ballpark figure. Better fuel consumption comes with the diesel or Diesel S engines.
Und da gibt es natürlich auch den sparsameren Diesel oder Diesel S.
It costs over 80,000 euros to take a Panamera of one's own on the road in Germany. Even the entry-level model combines sporty handling with abundant luxury. But the turbo's unmistakable sound will always hold a certain fascination for Porsche fans and drown out factors like price, fuel consumption, and green qualities. Volkswagen's Scirocco has been treated to a facelift, bringing it closer to the Golf, both visually and technically. In addition to a redesigned front reminiscent of the Golf GTI, it's been given the GTI's 2-liter direct-injection turbocharged engine, which pumps out 135 kilowatts. The interiors pay homage to the original Scirocco with additional instruments. BMW has broken new ground with its 2 Series Active Tourer, its first compact MPV with front-wheel drive. Equally unusual is the 3-cylinder 100-kilowatt engine. The seats are now 12 centimeters higher, and the back seats can be pushed forward 12 centimeters too, allowing additional luggage space in the 468-liter rear. The Active Tourer starts at 27,200 euros in Germany. The Astra is one of Opel's most important models, whether as a 3-door GTC sports coupe or as a sports tourer station wagon. Now the company in Rüsselsheim, Germany, has unveiled a new range of engines for both the Astra family and for its other cars.
Wir haben zum einen
Opel's Jürgen Keller says the GM subsidiary has a new 1.6-liter gasoline engine and a 1.6-liter diesel, and it's calling this the Whisper Diesel. It's extremely quiet but has great performance, and it offers power even at lower RPMs. We're testing this Whisper Diesel in the beefier 100-kilowatt version found in the Astra Sports Tourer. Automotive journalist Jens Meinert is going to put the new power plant through its paces while listening closely. The new diesel is especially frugal. Opel says it's the most fuel-efficient engine in its range, using 3.9 liters per 100 kilometers, and in the smaller 81-kilowatt version, it's even 3.7. Jens says the engine really is very quiet. It's not only agile and relatively sporty, but also unusually smooth for a diesel. It's a very pleasant engine. One great detail is a sport button that gives the Astra more pep. It changes its steering and performance profile, but also switches the instrumentation to red from cool white.
auf Rot wechselt, von kalt-weiß.
Both the practical sports tourer and the sporty Astra GTC feature this trick with the display. Now, Jens turns his attention to the 1.6-liter turbocharged gasoline engine. The GTC is designed for high performance, and that becomes clear in its handling. The GTC's technical data drive the point home. The turbo engine's 1.6 liters generate 147 kilowatts, accelerating it from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 7.9 seconds. At 6.6 liters per 100 kilometers, fuel consumption is moderate, but only if it's driven gently.
Der Motor ist komplett neu entwickelt.
Jens says the engine has been completely redesigned with multiple markets in mind. GM plans to sell it in the US later. It's a great engine with almost effortless power. There's hardly a trace of turbo lag. In many turbocharged engine, the power kicks in only after a delay, and that's a big plus. The engine also has a beautiful sound. It's relatively muted, but gets nice and throaty when you really fire it up. So, whether you choose the practical Tourer with its easily folded down rear seats, or opt for the sporty GTC, you can treat yourself to one of the new engines we tested. It's a common sight, a truck traveling along the highway. But the driver's not steering, like in a science fiction film. At Daimler, the future of trucking has already begun. This demonstration, as part of a technology event on an unopened motorway section near Magdeburg, has caused a sensation in freight haulage. Wolfgang Bernhardt, head of Daimler Trucks, says the Mercedes-Benz Future Truck 2025 represents the company's vision for transport and long-distance services a decade from now. For years, Daimler has been one of the leading companies in active and passive driving assistance systems for both cars and trucks. With safety systems including proximity control assist, stop and go assist, active brake assist 3, and lane keeping assist, these trucks already offer a high level of safety. But what is now being demonstrated goes even further. Bernhardt says this is a world premiere, a truck that can drive autonomously. That means it can drive all by itself at 80 kilometers per hour without the driver having to steer. It can accelerate or brake, stays right in the lane, and is very, very safe. Autonomous driving is made possible by networking and augmenting existing technology with cameras and radar sensors. When the message appears on the display, the driver can activate the system and turn his seat 45 degrees away from the steering wheel. Thanks to the so-called highway pilot, the truck can now travel without driver input. This system can adjust to a wide variety of driving situations. For example, if an emergency vehicle approaches, it can automatically pull over to the right to allow it to pass, and then return to the lane without driver intervention. The driver can still take over at any time. But how do truckers feel about that?
Es ist sehr entspannend.
Hans Luft is a truck driver. He says the new system is good and less stressful once you get used to it. It takes some time to get used to letting go of the steering wheel and taking your eye off the road. By letting the truck take care of the driving, he says he has time to take care of other activities in the cab.
Von diesem autonomen Fahren einfach die Möglichkeit hat, im Fahrerhaus andere Tätigkeiten zu tun.
Cameras and radar sensors around the vehicle enable drivers to pay attention to other things. But there's no word from Daimler as to what this technology will cost. Autonomous driving is ready for use in everyday trucking operations. Freight haulers that watch the road promise to make long-distance transport safer. This extreme athlete and record breaker is Felix Baumgartner of Austria. He began his career in the mid-1990s as a base jumper, completing over 2,600 jumps so far. You may remember him from 2012 when he jumped from the edge of the stratosphere. Now he's got a new challenge, the 24 Hours Nürburgring race. The Austrian former rally driver Sepp Heider is leading the Audi Race Experience team. He's only got a few weeks to turn Felix into a real racing car driver. As one of 4 drivers, it's key that he contribute to the team's success. The team's leader says their goal is clear. He wants them to get into the top 10. He says they prepared Felix well, and Felix has also done as much as he can to get himself in shape. They have to do what they can to minimize any mistakes. Swiss racer Rahel Frey drives Felix around the Grand Prix track at the Nürburgring to find the ideal racing line and the entry and braking points. He's got to know the track like the back of his hand. Rahel Frey says Baumgartner's goals are always extreme, and he wants to do it as fast as possible. That may be a good quality, but for a 24-hour race, you need patience. She points out that he brakes too late, after the cusp. In the race, you only have a moment to get it right, but she thinks this is really a good start. On the track, Felix drives kilometer after kilometer, lap after lap, always pushing the car closer to its limits. He's got to make the 419 kilowatt Audi R8 LMS Ultra as tame and as safe as a kitten. Now he's ready. This is not only Felix's first try, but also the high point of his ambitious From Heaven to Green Hell project. It seems his dream has come true, competing on the North Loop of the Nürburgring, known as Green Hell, and often considered the world's most spectacular racing track. Felix Baumgartner and teammates Pierre Kaffer, Marco Werner and Frank Biela are competing against 30 other teams in the GT3 class. They're all going for overall victory, setting out after the leader, a McLaren. 8 top makes line up at the start, including BMW, Mercedes and Porsche, and Audi is sending 8 R8 LMS Ultras onto the track. At 4 p.m., the 165 competitors start the 24-hour race on the 25-kilometer North Loop stretch. Kevin Estra in the orange McLaren had the best start, but a bit further back, the battle for positions begins. Felix is the 4th driver in the Audi team, which is currently in 8th place. He seems a little surprised at how fast the professional racers start their day. Felix says, you see the drivers are prepared to take bigger risks in a 24-hour race, and they go at it a bit harder. He adds, it's obvious from the beginning, they give it their all. At 8:17 p.m., the race has been going on for over 4 hours, and Felix Baumgartner has to buckle in. He says they're only in 9th place, and he hopes the team won't lose too many places because of him. He admits he just doesn't have the pacing and performance skills of the best drivers, but thinks he can hold his own. Felix's lap time is around 9 minutes, which is very respectable for a rookie. The top drivers are just about 30 seconds faster. He doesn't take any unnecessary risks and hands over the unscathed car. Felix Baumgartner says he managed to get through, but it was pretty difficult. There are often 3 or 4 slower cars ahead of you, and each one swerves in a different direction, so the driver has to maneuver around them. What also made things difficult was the low-lying sun. Felix is recovering from his first performance and tries to get some sleep, but just after sunrise, he's ready again. His second performance in the 24-hour race is lined up. At 6 in the morning, Felix gets into the car race for the second time. At the moment, his team is in overall 8th place. His second performance is better. He seems more at ease with the conditions. And for the first time, he completes a lap in under 9 minutes. At 8 minutes, 59.7 seconds on the stopwatch. His best lap time on the North Loop so far. Felix says he feels comfortable on nearly every part of the track. His favorite is the North Loop. He even prefers it to the Grand Prix stretch. Felix's parents are there for his third and last race, keeping their fingers crossed. Thanks to some good performances from Marco Werner, Frank Biela and Pierre Kaffer, and the newcomer Felix Baumgartner, the team managed to get into the top 10. Felix says everyone's more than happy. 9th place. It couldn't get any better in the first year. Audi also secures an overall win at the 24-hour race 2014 with the R8 LMS Ultra from Team Phoenix. And for Felix, one thing is clear.
Wir kommen wieder, ganz sicher.
They'll definitely be back.